Pozdrav dragi knjigoljupci, evo me danas u jednoj novoj epizodi, u jednom novom intervjuu. Jako sam sretna što je sa mnom danas sjeo švedski autor Jensom Liljestrand koji je napisao odličnu knjigu Ako sve i nestane. Ta me knjiga ovih dana jako zabavila. Moram priznati, osim što je vrlo pametna, angažirana knjiga koja se dotiče tema iminentne ekološke katastrofe, isto tako i izuzetno zabavna, zato jer tu ima i prekrasnih junaka, odnosno antijunaka, i jako mi je zanimljivo kako je on to sve povezao u singularnu knjigu. Welcome, Jens.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you for joining me here, for getting some time off your schedule to sit with me and have coffee. I should have ordered a coffee as well. I did nothing with it.
Well,
I still have time.
We'll have coffee after.
Yeah, good plan. So, is it your first time in Croatia?
No, it's my third time. I've been here on vacation on the coast.
Seriously?
Yes, I went to Split
I was there
last
yesterday.
summer with my family. It's beautiful. We went sailing at the archipelago. It was a fantastic place.
Oh, archipelago like Brač and Hvar or...
Brač and Hvar and out to Vis.
This is perfect.
And then outside of Vis to that small island. And it was fantastic. I loved it.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome. And Zagreb? First time in Zagreb?
It is my first time in Zagreb.
How are you liking it?
To be diplomatic.
You can be brutally honest.
People are great. People are great.
That's a good answer.
But the city, they're like no real parks. There's no nice areas to walk. There are no like river. I mean, I know there's a river, but it's too far.
It's wild. Yeah.
So there's no like if you go to Paris or Berlin, there's like always some big park somewhere, or like some big river. You can walk along the river. And here it's just block after block after block. It's like a concrete jungle.
We have a concrete jungle.
We have a concrete jungle, and it's warm, and the air is bad. And the food is bread and cheese and meat. I have a heart condition. I'm not kidding around. I have a heart condition, so I need to get out. So fortunately, one of my editors was kind enough to take me up on a hike to the Medveditsa forest. We went up the hike. That was beautiful. Mm-hmm. So we went up to the castle and saw something from there. Okay. So you should take that forest down here. And try to make this. You should try to make the city.
Yeah. I'm glad you're saying that.
You seem to have good public transportation. I like the trams, so that's good. But you need to have to get some parks in here.
I really like that you said it, and not just us who lived. I actually moved outside of the city, completely on the village, because it was just the concrete was too much. So yeah, I totally agree. That's a great introduction to the book, and let's start with the ecology of the book. I mean, it's a dystopia, basically. I can't even call it that because it's so close. It's so real. It's a modern story about basically all this fires happen on in Sweden, and they're just brutal, and it's such a showdown with the fires and the ecological issues. And why did you write about that? Why was that so important? And was it a burden to write about that?
So in Sweden, we had in the summer of 2018 a really, really hot summer. And in that summer of 18, we had these horrific fires in Sweden, like mega fires on a scale that previously had not been seen in Sweden. And I knew people personally who had to flee. They had to pack their kids into a car and just run off. And they saw all their property burn down. Thankfully, a few people were hurt in Sweden, but a lot of property was damaged. The forest was destroyed. And what struck me with this event was that people did not talk about that as climate change. They did not see that as a warning signal. Mm-hmm. Which of course they should have. Yeah. Instead, there was all this other talk, like it's the immigrants. It's the immigrants' fault because they are out in the forest barbecue. They're using like disposable barbecues and being careless and sloppy, and that's why we have these fires. There was a demand for strong men. Like, why don't we have all these strong, real men firefighters? We should have Polish men come up here. Real men from Poland.
We have great firefighters in Croatia.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do too. But we should have, and it was true. There was a lack of equipment. There was a lack of manpower. We had to take Italian airplanes up. Like,
yeah, you mentioned that in the book as well. Yeah,
Italian firebombers had to come up, so you'd see on the news these Italian real men coming up with their airplanes. No problem.
Macho Italiano.
No problem. But it was too late. Also, you had people on the right wing in my country, unfortunately, saying that the media attention, that the media was exaggerating climate change, and that the media was focusing on climate change because of the elections, because we had elections in Sweden in September that year. So this was somehow some kind of propaganda to benefit the Greens and the Reds in Sweden. So all these other discussions, instead of the discussion that should have been there, which of course, this is climate change, this is a warning, run for the exits, right? And so that happened, and that, I hate to say it was inspiring, but it certainly gave me material to work with. Then this thing happened, is that I got a scholarship to stay in Ingmar Bergman's house. You know Ingmar Bergman?
Yeah, I do.
The film director.
I actually love it.
You love Ingmar Bergman?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna be jealous now, because I got a scholarship to stay in Ingmar Bergman's house.
I do hate you now.
Yes. So he's dead now, but he had a remote house on a remote island called Fårö outside of Gotland, all this stuff.
Yes.
Some of his films were actually made there. And so he had several houses. So the scholarship was to stay in one of these houses that he owned, and then work in his actual private home.
Wow.
So I ended up sitting literally Monday morning, 9 o'clock, in Ingmar Bergman's office. And say, I had no idea what to do. I said I was going to write a novel about climate change. It was going to be inspired by the 2018 fires in Sweden. It was going to be written in the spirit of Ingmar Bergman. It's going to be dark. It's going to be about family. And it was going to be called Even If Everything Ends. And I sat and I wrote the first sentence. I was happy.
That's a Knjige Bergman sentence, something that I don't know, see in Autumn Sonata.
So that's how it started. And then to get back to your introduction, when I started the novel in the summer of 2019, I envisioned that the novel was 10 years in the future.
Yes.
Like, I think I had an idea that the novel was set in 2030. But then for every week I wrote the novel, it came closer and closer and closer.
I can see that.
So like the horizon got closer and closer and closer. When I finished the novel 2 years later, it was not 2013 and 30, it was next year. And interestingly, since I launched the book, it's been received very differently. In some countries, it's been received as a satire. In Finland, it was received as science fiction. I was actually shortlisted for a science fiction award in Finland. Okay. No, science fiction, really.
Speculative fiction.
And then when I come to Southern Europe, like to Spain, here in Croatia, I see people are reading the book much more as a contemporary novel, which I believe it's getting to be a contemporary novel much more for every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's just something you can see happening. This summer, especially this summer, it was such a hot summer. I can totally see it happening now as something that is documented and not just. What I do really appreciate, and that's something I kind of do want to discuss more, is the way you, how do I describe it? Basically, how you connected it to your heroes, or anti-heroes. I see that word being placed into synopsis a lot, and I describe your characters. There are 4 main characters and 4 different perspectives, and they are described as anti-heroes. Is this something you would describe them with?
I can see that, but they're all...
'Cause I wouldn't.
No, they are... One thing I learned when the book came out in the public is that everyone said, all these characters are so unsympathetic. There are no nice people in this
They
book.
should not be
And
sympathetic.
I said, they all act like me.
That's exactly it.
They all act like I do. So I have a hard time that... No, I tried to make them very human. I tried to make all my characters very real and very human. The thing with the book is that it's about climate change. Climate change creates a lot of very conflicting emotions within us. I mean, it's not one emotion, it's a set of complex emotions. So I wanted to make them into 4 characters. So there's 4 characters, and actually each of them is an emotion. Mm-hmm. So Didrik, we start with Didrik, the family man who has panic and desperation, which we all feel. And then there's Melissa, who is the influencer, who is in denial and who is arrogant. And then there's Andre, the bitter son, who is angry and bitter and sad and also wants revenge. So that's the revenge narrative. Someone should pay for this, right?
Yeah.
And then we end with the story of the daughter, Vilja, which is about resilience and pragmatism and solutions and unity. And we all have to some degree, I think everyone on Earth has some of these emotions. I mean, you can be angry, you can be desperate, you can be in denial, you can be sad, you can be practical about it. And we all...
Are those stages of grieving?
That's a great point. I never thought of that, but that's a great point. There are different... The novel is about 4 different stages of grieving. Yeah. Wow. First time. She got it. She got me. Genius.
That's the thing, like when you... It's so emotional. It is a bit of a... And I can see why someone would call it a satire. Your characters are a bit caricaturized. How do you say it in English? We would say
caricatures, yeah.
Yeah, they're... So I do see a bit of humor in that and emphasization. But when you do kind of go over them and reach over them, I met those people. I am those people. I'm really concerned about the environment, but do I do everything properly? Or someone else, do they consider not having the 3rd kid? Or, just we're all consumed by our own drama, and it's really hard to, connect with the higher drama they're supposed to be concerned about. And in the middle of it, it's so hard for me to say, no, these are anti-heroes. So this books should not be only about the heroes, but us and how we deal with it and how we reach that empathetic place. And how do you think literature in general, and your book specifically, can help us with that step up or more empathy or whatever you think we need more to step up in this subject?
I'm not sure. I think that's my job. I'm sorry, but
that's perfect answer.
So
do you think the literature has a job?
No, I don't. I think I don't have a job. I get that question a lot. What do you think people should learn from the book? Like that's like a typical question. Or how should people react after reading a book?
It's a very simple.
No, but my book is. I'm not trying to educate the public.
Uh-huh.
If you are not worried about climate change already, this book is not going to change your mind. If you don't believe that climate change is real, which is a problem, a lot of people don't do. A novel is not going to change your mind. There are experts. Go read the experts. This novel is not. It's not my way of debating climate change. Mm-hmm. This is supposed to be a work of art. Because what I think we need, to get back to your question, I think we need a culture around climate change. I think climate change needs to have an impact on our culture. Why are there no series on Netflix about climate change? Like stories. Why are there no narrative? Why don't we have crime fiction where climate change plays a vital role? Why don't we have romance fiction where climate change plays a vital role? Art, music, etc., etc. why don't we by now have a climate change culture in the way we should have, because it's seriously turning the world apart, right? And it's turning the world upside down. So this is an attempt of starting that, because I think we need stories. I mean, since I came out with a book, I've been to different panels, and one thing, I was with this panel about climate change, where there was actually a psychologist, because climate change anxiety
Yes.
is a diagnosis today.
Yes.
You know that? The climate
Yes,
change,
I heard that.
climate change anxiety is a diagnosis, and one of the things that the psychologist said, that one of the ways of treating climate change anxiety is to talk about it, right? To talk about it, tell
But it's
stories.
not a taboo.
Talk about it, tell stories about it, listen to other people's stories about it, share stories about it. And I think that might be an obligation for literature, to create a space to have a discussion and to tell stories and share stories. So that might be my job.
That's perfect. That's such a perfect. I will end this here because it's such a perfect place to stop. And I want to thank you for creating space for literature, for other artists, and for us as readers to really like be engaged in the story, in the drama, and have a lot to think about, perhaps to carry something in the world further. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I hvala svima vama na gledanju i slušanju.